Hi guys, Fernandes Limbo, another edition of On the Grid. Sorry for the Spartan conditions, but they lowered the budget here for On the Grid, so a little pocket change. But John...
he's joking, of course.
Yeah, of course I'm joking. John, obviously games of last week, games of Friday.
Yep.
But involving the games of last week, we should address one off-the-field story.
Yes.
A fight after the game, Braden River, Northport. We still don't know a lot of the details, but apparently there was a scrum as one of the teams made their way back to the buses. Adult supervision was said to be lacking. Raymond Thomas, a running back for Braden River, got a couple of teeth knocked out. It was kind of an ugly situation. They're looking into it. John, you've been covering football around this. Can you remember of a situation where two teams got into a fight long after the game was over?
No, and that's what I find interesting about this. Obviously, you and I weren't there, so we don't know, as you mentioned, all the facts. But we had a follow-up, like in Monday's paper, that the news side did a great job on. And Jason Montgomery, the county AD for Manatee County, said it's kind of weird it happened long after the game was over. Because you and I have covered games where it gets kind of chippy during the game. Maybe a lot of stuff being back and forth, and you kind of watch the post-game handshake to see what happens. But for it to happen after they got in the locker room and cooled down, yeah, it is a little different for it to happen like that.
You know, a lot of stuff maybe didn't come out. One of the facts that I heard afterwards that maybe at halftime, because the locker rooms are so close to each other, that Braden River cut off Northport and made Northport wait to walk into their locker room at halftime. Now you're thinking, is that going to make kids upset? Well, these are high school kids you're talking about. You never knew what was said, never know what was said on the field in the second half. After the game, Northport upset about getting beat constantly. Maybe tempers would have flared. But John, I don't want to stand here and get on my soapbox, but a couple of months, you know, we heard about officials being hit from behind. The players said the coaches told them to do it. We've seen videos on TV of players. I mean, I know these players afterwards shake hands for sportsmanship, but how many of them you think really would just say, I'd rather not shake the guy's hand? Because is sportsmanship dying in high school sports? We see so many incidents of where it's lacking.
Well, first off, I think, I'm not saying you did this, but I wouldn't really put this in the same category as the official mishap. That was malicious and heinous. That was just awful. But I don't know if it's dying. I think, you know, I've always said this, that I think a lot of the times you see pro sports lack sportsmanship is this everybody wins mentality. And when kids are younger, they don't learn how to lose because no one really loses anymore. Everybody wins. A whole trophy mentality and let's not keep score and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that was the problem here. But to your question about sportsmanship, I think by having all this stuff about everybody wins and everybody finishes first, you're not teaching kids how to handle themselves when they do lose. And I think, you know, if we keep doing that, that will erode sportsmanship because you know, part of, I think, playing Little League, I played Little League for a long time, and part of the thing you learned was to win and lose with class. So, you know, again, we don't know if that was what fueled this incident, but I think that kind of mentality is what might destroy sportsmanship as a whole.
And one thing we've talked about before, social media. I mean, I don't follow these guys' accounts, but you never know what's being said during the week on social media about we're going to beat you, we're going to beat you.
There are so many things that we don't know, that we might never know about this, about what happened. It could have been a spur of the moment thing. Could have been something that was said on Twitter 2 weeks earlier. We don't know, and that's, you know, and that's kind of the hardest part about this, because you think to yourself, well, if we know the problem, maybe we can stop it next time. But you know, sometimes things happen. I mean, kids fight, adults fight. I'm not saying this was a nothing incident. This definitely should be looked at, scrutinized, and definitely, you know, the proper punishment should be handed out. But, you know, unless someone steps forward and says this is everything that happened, we'll never know what really started this.
Yeah, because everybody's gone into lockdown mode. I went up to Braden River a couple of days ago. Bradley wasn't there, and I got a text from Coach Bradley basically saying, please respect the privacy of our players and our parents. So I think we're past that stage. Now we're at the stage of, like, who did it and what's going to be the punishment. And I think we're in that stage right now. John, looking back at the game, Braden River easily defeated Northport 42-7. They're off this week, setting the stage for their match at Venice next week. But when you look at a couple of games from last week, a shout out to Bayshore winning their first game of the year.
And not just that, but they won a district game. This is a team that hadn't scored an offensive touchdown going into that game. They won it. Now they're 1-1 in district. And you know, that district is kind of, that's the one with 5A11 with Southeast, Lemon Bay, and you look at that, there's no real big dominant team in that district. Maybe Hardy, Southeast playing really well, Lemon Bay's 1-1. So you don't know, but yeah, definitely a big win for Bayshore, and it's just proof that with the way the season is, with the non-district and district games, that you know, as long as you get your act in order by district time, you could do something.
Nice segue. You have a story coming out. It's online in the paper tomorrow about Southeast. Talk about
right there.
It's right here. Look behind us. You may want to read this rather than listen to us. But, no. But Southeast, perfect example. Lost their first 3 games, won their 2 district games. They're 2 in a row. They're atop the district, and your story is basically the comeback of the Southeast football program.
Well, the funny thing is they lost their 3 games. They played Nature Coast, Braden River, and Palmetto, combined 16-1 right now. And Palmetto's 1 loss came to Manatee with 20 seconds left. So very close to playing 3 teams that could be 17-0 right now. Yeah, you know, I talked to the crux of the story is about really how they had a rough year last year under Coach Warren, lost their first 3 games, but a lot of the guys stuck with it. They believed in themselves. Cody Montgomery, the defensive coordinator over there, he started a leadership council there, about 12 or 13 guys who get together each week and discuss, you know, the temperature of the locker room, you know, any conflicts that are brewing, how can we, you know, get better, what are we doing well. So yeah, some good things happening over there at Southeast. They host Meckley tomorrow night against Cardinal Mooney. It should be a pretty interesting night. And then next week, big game at home against Lemon Bay. So yeah, it's getting real fun now in the area.
No, but that Mooney Southeast game, they're going to dedicate the field
to Paul Meckley at John Kiker Memorial Stadium.
If there's that one guy in this area that deserves to have the stadium or field named after him, it's John Meckley. You've dealt with him, Paul Meckley. You've dealt with him a lot. Just a great guy.
One of my favorites. Yeah. I've always said that, you know, I do have a son now. He's 2.5, so we're a long ways away from high school sports. But he's one of those guys I think you want your kid playing for. You know, you never heard a bad word about Coach Meckley. You know, always really nice to me. When I first got here about 10 years ago, one of the first guys I dealt with. One of the really good guys in the area, in the state, and he's done so much for football in the county, the state, the whole area. A very well-deserved honor tomorrow night for Coach Meckley.
Exactly, and I wish I was there, but I'll be at the Sarasota game. But looking at a couple of games on the docket tomorrow, district games, Palm Harbor at Manatee, Hillsborough Riverview at Riverview. Palm Harbor at Manatee. Does Manatee finally have it going in the right direction, you think?
Looks like it. I mean, 90-17, the combined score of their last 2 games. A.J. Colagiovanni threw for 309 yards last week. First quarterback in 5 years to go over 300 yards for Manatee in a game passing. You know, again, the turnovers have been kept low. The penalties are still pretty high, so they got to kind of get you know, lower that a bit. But I think, yeah, they're rolling right now, and this is a good time to be rolling. They're in the teeth of their district schedule. It's district all the way into the last week of the season against Southeast. So this is a good time if Manatee is on track to be on track.
And the Riverview game, whoever's announcing the game might have a little trouble differentiating the teams. Might have to go by the nicknames.
Well, same with Manatee. They're both Hurricanes.
They're both Hurricanes.
So yeah, go with nicknames at Riverview, and go with the school name if you're at Manatee.
Well, the Riverview Rams, a team here in town, 1-1. They're still in the heart of the district race. But really, the game that really is the game to look at, even though it's a smaller school, 5-0 St. Stephen's at 5-0 Santa Fe. The winner takes over first place in the Sunshine State Coral Bay Conference. They score points, but not a lot of attention given to St. Stephen's.
The unfortunate thing is there that they play pretty much everyone out of the area except for they play ODA coming up in a couple of weeks. But yeah, great job there by Coach Cornetti and the whole staff. And the thing interesting about that is they only play 8 regular season games in that conference because they're all FHSA schools. And the FHSA said that their season couldn't go past the FHSA regular season. So they only play 8 regular season games and playoffs. Yeah, this is a huge game for the Falcons. They win this, they're in pretty good shape because the top 2 teams in each division go to the playoffs and play for the championship. And that'd be huge for St. Stephen's, a team that a couple years ago didn't win a game.
I think we were both good on our locks of the week last week.
We were.
I believe we were.
We were. Yeah, you still have the only blemish.
I still have the only blemish. I'm putting cream on it, but the blemish won't go away. I'm going to have it all season. Looking at tomorrow night's games, go right to what's your lock of the week.
Well, unlike what you said before we went on here, the first time this year I'm picking Manatee. You said to pick them every week.
I'm sorry.
This is my first time I'm picking them, Manatee, and it's funny because Palm Harbor's 4-1 overall. Manatee's 3-2.
Right.
But I can say Manatee, they're playing really well right now. They're on a roll. They're home. The last time they were home, they lost to Lincoln, first home loss in 4 years. So I think they want to wash that taste out of their mouth. I think they win tomorrow night.
You know, my pick, I'd like to pick the Sailors, but you know, last week they had a little trouble. Jesuits coming into town, 6-0 Jesuit. That's my lock of the week. I haven't really picked against the Sailors yet, so that's going to be my game.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
One more programming note, shameless promotion. Tomorrow on WTF with Tom Tryon and myself, we'll be filming it live outside, and our special guest will be Dick Vitale, Lakewood Ranch analyst, ESPN analyst, Lakewood Ranch resident, and that'll be high noon. Come on and join us downstairs on the patio, or watch us on Herald-Tribune.com. And that's where you can find us, John Lembo, Doug Fernandez. So for both of us, we'll see you next week on The Grid.